There was a surprise when I read the Manhattan District Attorney's opposition to Donald Trump's motion to dismiss the felony convictions that took place in the Manhattan case. Like Harry Litman and I, we expected that Donald Trump was going to face some opposition from the Manhattan District Attorney's office, and they weren't going to roll over, but they had a very detailed set of plans for not just that the case should not be dismissed, but also what should happen next. And there's two alternative paths that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office offers. But I thought the most compelling aspect of the opposition to Trump's motion to dismiss, again, Trump's asserting absolute immunity, saying the Supreme Court gave him this carte blanche immunity that he claims applies to the New York case, even though it involves criminal acts that predate Trump's time in office. But the Manhattan District Attorney's Office says there's still a public confidence factor here that if you overturn jury verdicts, even if we're dealing with the highest office of our land and the presidency, if you overturn that, Judge, you're going to be eroding the jury system itself, kind of tugging on those judicial emotional strings. Let's bring in Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, the Talking Feds Substack, Harry Litman's Talking Feds Substack. Talk about a meteoric rise of a Substack. I've never seen anything like it. Harry, of course, resigned his position from the LA Times, focusing on his Substack, his YouTube, just didn't want to be associated with the Times as they've gone pretty pro-Trumpy in their coverage. Harry lays it out in his Substack. But Harry, the arguments here by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office saying, look, you can stay or pause all of these proceedings right now pending the end of Trump's presidency. In the alternative, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office says, while we think that's the best course, the jury system should not be screwed with. Trump was convicted on these 34 felony counts. But if you think that this somehow will diminish the presidency or cast this shadow over it, well, then treat it, this is what they say in the motion, the same way you would treat somebody who died. And they give an Alabama case example where they were convicted but then died before sentencing, so that they don't get to escape the crimes. The scarlet letter of being a felon is there, but you just kind of put in abeyance the proceedings and say, here's a felon, that's it, we can't go forward anymore. Manhattan DA says, we don't want that, but if you have to do something, just don't dismiss it. Harry, what'd you make of the analysis?
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting, and as you say, it's kind of velvet glove, if you will, going hard on the basic notion of why you can't just erase things. Trump is playing it very aggressive, wanting first to say, as a president-elect, forget president, as a president-elect, all of these immunity principles apply to me, and saying second, we've got to vaporize the case and make it go away, as opposed to simply put it on ice. And Bragg came in with really strong, in the sense of aggressive, arguments for why those basic claims are wrong. He's a president-elect is not like a president. We can't just get rid of the whole thing. There are all kinds of reasons, including, as you say, Ben, the respect for the criminal justice system, which is, the unspoken words there is all the other cases, especially the federal cases that have been wiped out and that Trump is using as somehow a vindication based on a public override of the criminal justice system, as opposed to, the happenstance and unprecedented circumstances. But anyway, they push hard there. But as you say, I think they're either thinking that Mayor Chun is going to be a little bit nervous about pushing it too strong, or maybe it's their own view, but they do give a whole sort of option that would, in essence, say, go ahead, perhaps. This, I think, would be their best case scenario, and it could happen, and I think it would be, pretty close to what people have been hoping for. Sentence him, pronounce the sentence, but then come January 20th, we understand the appellate process, everything's going to freeze for 4 years, but have that, if you want to say scarlet letter, have it written out there on air, but just not applied to his forehead or whatever. That's what they want to see. Now, that'll drive him nuts based on where he is now. He wants to avoid that at all costs. But if Merchan agrees with Bragg, he'll say, no reason to avoid that. There's reason to not go forward thereafter with appeals and the like. Now, Trump will fight that, I think. Bragg says, we'll suspend everything after that. I think Trump will say, no, we won't, if it's not where he wants to be, and he'll try to push it to the intermediate level in the New York court, the highest level in New York courts, and the Supreme Court to say, I can't have this scarlet letter and still be president and fight it. But Bragg has really served up an interesting option, strong on the substance, but very both nuanced and fairly giving on the process, that could result in Trump's being sentenced and having that kind of hovering in the atmosphere for the 4 years if he serves all 4 of his presidency.
Look, I don't want to gloss over the arguments that Alvin Bragg made that you and I predicted that he was going to make about why the Supreme Court ruling about core constitutional functions and official acts, that doesn't apply here. This conduct was private in nature. The conduct predates. It's harmless error. We kind of said that's where they were going. It was exactly what you and I said. So we could touch on that just a minute, but it's where we thought. To me, the angle that made this unique was that Alvin Bragg was ready with the remedy. Here's how you approach it. Here's option 1. Here's option 2, a less desirable option, the scarlet letter option, the scarlet letter F for felon option. It's an out. If you're thinking about dismissing this, Merchan, dismiss it, but keep that scarlet letter there. And there's a real public policy reason why you should. Or what we prefer you do is, look, cases like this get stayed and delayed all the time. Not like this in the sense of involving the presidency, but this in the sense of something happens.
Fugitives. Yeah.
Exactly. So
cold cases, they can go 20 years, right? Yeah.
I'll give you the final concluding words on this topic, Harry, from the Talking Feds Substack and Talking Feds YouTube channel.
All right. Well, thanks. Look, I just want to say this is what's left, right? I mean, there's weird stuff going on in Fulton County where Trump himself is trying to revive what seems like a moribund appeal of Fani Willis's case. But this is the action, and Trump has an overall agenda. I don't think people quite realized it when he filed his motion a week ago. And that agenda is not simply being safe from any kind of criminal action or enforcement while he's president. Bragg is pretty well acknowledging that and letting it go. His agenda is essentially to rewrite history, to make things go away. I was really struck in his Meet the Press interview how Kristen Welker said, so are you now ready to say you lost the 2020 election? He said, no, why would I do that? And we're told, I can't confirm this, that when people are applying for jobs and having interviews, they're asked what they think about the 2020 election. And if they give the wrong answer, that is that it was bona fide, which of course is the factual answer, silence ensues and they are out. So it's this really both aggressive and kind of eyebrow raising goal of essentially the ultimate history is the propaganda of the victor, trying to really make things go away as opposed to just be suspended. And that if you want to think of it in the general terms of democratic governments versus autocratic governments, where authoritarians, try very hard and with success often to control the narrative, the things learned in school, what happened in the world. That's where Trump is going with this. And needless to say, that's alarming.
Harry Litman, Talking Feds Substack, Talking Feds YouTube. Everybody subscribe to both. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.